then 1029.
It's at 2:39, 11 seconds, not answered.
That's from you to him, right?
Yes.
And then 1028.
That's from him at 2:40, 14 seconds, and I missed it.
And then we'll have to flip to the next page to see who that's from. Let me go here. Looks like you placed a call, is that right?
Yes.
Who's that to?
That's to Mary Madden, my daughter.
And 1025?
It's 2:51, 18 seconds, and I didn't answer the call.
And who's that from?
From David Barron.
And this next call at 1024?
It's at 3:02 and 4 seconds, and I didn't answer that call.
Okay. So you probably weren't counting, but do you know how many that was? How many calls from Mr. Barron?
No, I do not.
We have heard some or seen some evidence about some notes on your phone or a note on your phone about this DUI night.
Right. Mm-hmm.
In the notes in your phone about this DUI night, it doesn't have any of this information about this incident.
Right. It does not.
Why not?
Well, I wrote the note in case I had to go over what happened that night previously, so I would remember what happened that night, but I left out a lot of details, and I left out the truth in it. And the reason I did that is because he was going to help me with this, and if he saw that I said anything like that or wrote anything, he'd be furious with me and he'd hurt me. So I knew not to say anything about what really transpired that evening.
Did you ever tell anybody about the things that Mr. Barron had done to you?
No, never.
What about your kids?
No, never. I never told anyone.
Your sisters?
No, I never told anyone.
I want to ask you about the night when the police came to St. Simon's, okay?
Okay.
What was the place that you guys were staying, you and Mr. Barron?
We were staying at Seagate Inn.
And we've heard from the police officers
Right.
showed up, but can you tell us what happened earlier in the night?
Well, we went to a restaurant called Ember. We went out to eat. We were on St. Simon's. And in the middle of dinner, he said he didn't feel well. So we packed up our dinner and we left. And we get in the car and I asked him, I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "No, he's not okay." He said, "You weren't paying attention to me in there. You were paying attention to all your friends." Because there were a lot of people in there that I knew. And I was just talking to him and saying hello to him. And I said, "No, I was paying attention to you." And he said, "No, you weren't." He said, "Why did I drive all the way from Gainesville to come here if you weren't going to pay attention to me?" And then we were silent on the way home. And then we pulled into the parking garage. And that's when he asked me if I could do him a favor. He said, "Can you do me a favor?" And I said, "Sure." And he wanted me to pay his mortgage for that month.
Okay, hang on. His mortgage means what?
His half of the mortgage payment that we make together.
Okay. At this time, we know what the mortgage loan amount is, but what is the monthly total payment, if you know?
It's about probably around $9,000. So between the two of us, it's like $4,500. I pay $4,500 and he pays $4,500.
Did you agree to fund his portion of the mortgage?
No, I did not.
And how did he receive that information?
He slapped me in the face.
this was in the car?
This was in the car, yes.
Okay. Was that the end of it?
No, then I told him that maybe he needs to find another place to stay tonight. And I told him that I would get all of his stuff together and send it down the elevator. So I went upstairs to get his belongings and pack his bags. And I was up there doing it, and he comes up the stairs, up the elevator, I'm sorry. He comes upstairs, and he's standing at the door, and he's trying to get in the door, and I'm standing in the way of the door, and he pushes the door open and makes me fall.
And what happened when you fell?
When I fell, since I was already on the ground, he kicked me in the side, and then he kicked me really hard in the head. And then he pulls me up from the ground. He put one hand on my neck and the other hand on top of my hair and pulls me up from the ground that way.
What happens after he does that?
Then the police bang on the door. But before that, when we were talking about why I wouldn't pay for it, I then made another statement that as long as he's paying for her monthly bill, that I would not pay for it.
Was that something he liked you to say to him?
No, that's when he slapped me in the face.
When the police got there, did you feel like what did you tell them? Did you tell them this is what happened?
No, I did not. I told him everything was okay.
What did you tell them about Mr. Barron?
I told him that he was fine, that everything was good, that everything was going to be okay.
I'll show you. Show you what was marked as Defendant's Exhibit 13. Can you flip through those and see if you recognize those? And you can take your time, okay?
Okay. Yes, I recognize them.
Are these your texts with Mr. Barron?
Yes, they are.
Are they fairly inaccurate? Is that your text with Mr. Barron?
Yes, they do.
From January 31st through January 31st to February the
3rd.
February the 3rd.
Yes.
Move to Tender Defendant's Exhibit 13.
No objection.
Admitted.
I have the element back, I'm sorry. Showing you second page of Defendant's 13. Who's this message from?
It's from me to David.
Okay. And what is it that you're telling him there?
I said the EM came back and took me to the hospital and I had to spend the night for observation. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Now, was it true that an EM came back to your condo?
No, it was not.
What was Mr. Barron's response to you at 12:16 a.m. on the 3rd there?
He said, you should be ashamed of how you reacted. It was you who acted so terribly to have some persons call the police.
Your response to Mr. Barron is what?
I fell and I hit my head and they heard me. I talked to them today.
Are you inferring that you talked to the people who got called 911?
Yes.
But had you actually talked to them?
No, I had not. I was just trying to make him feel better.
Feel better about what?
about what he did to me, and that he knows I wasn't going to say anything. He was scared I was going to say something.
What's the next thing that you told him?
It says, I fell and hit my head and they heard me yell. I talked to them today. You did nothing. I held the door. You pushed and I fell. That's all. That's all that happened. I think you need to go find Lily and be with her. I hired a private eye and he told me that she has 8 men sending her money and you are number 9. It's a scam.
Now, had you actually hired a private investigator?
No, I had not.
When was the first time that you and Mr. Barron had violence in your relationship?
Probably in September of 2024.
Okay. And where did that take place?
We were in a hotel in Atlanta, Georgia.
You're staying at a hotel. Is anyone else staying at the hotel besides you and Mr. Barron?
Just us.
And what happened?
Well, we went to dinner at the hotel, and then we were coming back up the stairs, come back up to the room, and we had a seat in the sitting area. And then he told me that he wanted to talk about the down payment for our mortgage.
Okay, so hang on, just so the folks know. When was it that you actually made the agreement or the mortgage or the, signed all that stuff for the house?
That was in October, so this is a month before we sign everything.
Okay.
And so then he asked me if we had decided beforehand to pay. Each of us were going to put $300,000 down on the loan, so to lessen our payments, our monthly payments. And then that night he told me that he could only put $100,000 down, but he still wanted me to put the $300,000 down. And I told him I wasn't comfortable doing that. That I'd put whatever he put down. That is fine if he could only do $100,000. Then I'd put down $100,000. And then he also said that he wanted only his name on the house.
You mean he wanted on the deed or on the title or something like that?
Right. He just wanted his name to be on there, not mine.
Okay. And was this suggestion a suggestion that you were interested in following?
No, I was not.
So what happened?
And so he suggested that I paid the $300,000 and then he pays $100,000. I told him no, that I wouldn't do that. And he told me that I need to listen to him. And I told him that I was listening to him. I just wasn't agreeing with him because I didn't want to have my name on the mortgage only and then his name on it without mine, without on the house, the deed and the mortgage. I wanted both of our names on it because we were both putting in equal amounts of money. And he grabbed me by the chin right here. And he grabbed me and told me that I need to learn to listen to him. And then he turned around and hit me in the side of my head.
And was that the end of it?
No, it was not.
What happened?
He left. He went, I guess, I don't know where he went. He went downstairs or somewhere. He took the elevator and left the hotel room. And then he came back probably about an hour and a half later.
So hang on. He's put his hands on you, you say?
Yes.
Right? And then he just leaves?
Yes, he just leaves. He gets my phone.
He took your phone?
Off the table.
Okay.
And he takes his phone and he takes his satchel bag and he goes and leaves the room. I don't know where he went, but he left the room.
And how much time passed before he shows back up?
Probably about an hour and a half.
And is that the end of it? He just comes back and now everything's fine?
No, it's not.
What happens?
I was in bed already, And he came in there and he pulled me out of bed with my arm. He pulled me out of bed with my arm and told me that we were going to finish this conversation and that I need to learn to know that he's the boss, not me. And then he told me again to put down $300,000, and I told him I just wanted to put down $100,000 just like he did. And he didn't agree to that. And then I told him I wanted my name on the house as well as his name. He said he needed it for tax purposes and that he knew more about this stuff than I did. And I told him I needed it for tax purposes too. So I told him that I would not put down $300,000.
And that's the end of it. The whole night's over.
And then when I told him that, he told me he needs to teach me a lesson about listening to him. And he grabbed me by the hair, by the back of my head, grabbed me by the hair and threw me down on the bed. And then he sexually forced himself on me.
When you say sexually forced himself on me, what do you mean exactly?
He made me have sexual intercourse with him.
But this is someone you're having sexual intercourse with consensually before this, right?
Yes.
Well, what's the difference between the consensual sex you had with him and this?
Because I was being forced to have it with him. When we have it together, we both agree upon it, but I was being forced to have it, and I didn't want to have it at that time.
How is he supposed to know you don't want to have it?
Because I told him no. I told him to stop and leave me alone. I was yelling at him to stop and leave me alone.
And he didn't, did he respond to that?
No, he didn't respond. He told me to shut up, and he slapped me in the head again.
Did you think, because you said this is the first time, right?
Right, this is the first time that he had, before, maybe a couple of times, he may have pushed me maybe a little bit, or grab my arm more so that way, but this is the first time he really attacked me.
Did you think maybe that you should try to end this relationship?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Why didn't you do it?
Because I loved him, and I thought we could work it out.
I want to talk to you about another time down in St. Simon's. May I approach the witness? I'm sorry. Thought I gave you this already. Showing you defendant 68. Can you look at those? See if you recognize those.
Excuse me. Yes.
Do you recognize those? Mm-hmm. Are these a fair and accurate representation of your text with Mr. Barron from January 20th, 2025 to January 20th, 2025 at 8